remember at one point, my boss had pulled me aside and asked me, because she had been abused, if I was being abused, because I had had enough bike wrecks to bring up to their attention. And I finally admitted to her, she was the first person I admitted to that yeah, I was being abused. And I really, at that point, I think I realized that I didn't have anybody to turn to. You know, she asked me, do you have anybody that you can stay with? And I said, no. I ran away from my family. I ran away from my friends. I'm nothing. I grew up in a small town. I had a normal childhood, so to speak. We had an occasional church. I was in junior high. I became involved with a youth group then. A lot of my friends were going to youth group, and I was attending with them, and I asked Jesus into my heart and got baptized, and I was going to youth group and going to summer camps, and I just never really felt like I got grounded, never sought out a relationship with him. And before too long in high school, it was more of hanging out and partying with friends, not really attending church as much. I was working a lot on the weekends, and after high school I was doing a lot more of the same, and it was drinking and going to clubs and ecstasy and partying, and during this time I met my ex-husband, and we ended up getting married and settling down, having a couple of kids, have a normal marriage. We weren't doing drugs, but drinking was still okay, you know. It was still socially acceptable, it was still legal, and we had some friends that we would get together with on the weekends, and they had kids, and we'd all drink and play cards, and social drinking became more than just social drinking to me, and before I knew it, it had become full-blown alcoholic. I spent the next couple of years in and out of treatment centers. My husband, the kids' dad, took them for their own safety away from me. I had become erratic and angry and unreliable, gotten fired from jobs, in and out of rehabs and jail and psych wards and women's shelters. Every time I went into one of those places, I met somebody new, and one of those people that I met, I ended up becoming really good friends with. I followed him across the country, Texas and then Arizona, and he became very abusive. And by this time, I was not only drinking, that was my first addiction, but I was also using meth, and so there was a lot of ups and downs and for both of us, and he became very abusive. And it wasn't long that all blew up, and we had to leave. We had to come back home. We'd worn out our welcome there, and so we came back to Missouri, and things got actually even worse, and the abuse got worse, and the alcohol and the drugs got worse, and the cops were getting called, and I had been running for a long time, and I had multiple warrants in multiple counties, and they finally caught up with me, and I finally got arrested. And that time it wasn't just a book and release, and I thank God for that now, because I finally, for the first time in a long time, had a chance to get my head straight. I went to every church service there in jail, and I surrendered all to Jesus at one of those jail services. And I just remember feeling a very overwhelming feeling that I needed to, even though I had said those words before, I needed to confess my sin and ask Jesus to forgive me and start living for him and stop living for myself. I just felt it begin to renew me as I was reading. I just kept my nose in his word, and I ended up buying a jail radio so that I could listen to sermons. After I got out, I knew about Freeway, and I knew a lot of the people in leadership there, and I called about getting in, and it was immediately very welcoming. I just felt a lot of love and support immediately. I felt the love of Christ around me. Going to the Bible studies and just going to the through our daily routine there just gave me a foundation. It gave me stepping stones to build on. Serving with Freeway, I ended up meeting my husband, and we got married. And the Lord, at one time, this world and the court system, it deemed me unworthy and unfit to be a mother, and but the Lord has other plans. He had other plans, and He not only has restored those relationships, but He's given me a sweet little stepson, and He's blessing us with 2 more babies. And He blesses obedience. He does. Without the local church, I don't know where I'd be, honestly. The fact that my church has been so supportive of an outreach ministry that focuses on addicts, it's what I needed, because I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable walking into the church setting. They feel like they're a bunch of hypocrites and uppity, and the Lord has a way of redeeming things. And the church that I attend now, I was pulled aside in Sunday school class because I kept coming drunk. And today I'm actually a leader. My husband and I are leaders in that class, and only the Lord can do that, because I couldn't stop on my own. I had to have everything stripped away from me and have nothing but Him to focus on. You are out there and you're in a place of hopelessness, and you're being abused and beaten down. I just want you to know there's hope in Jesus Christ. I'm no longer that person that fights everybody and destroys everything and messes up relationships, and that's not how God sees me either. When He looks at me, He sees the blood of Jesus Christ, and there is hope in Him. There is a way out.